love, and particularly self-love. One person is wondering, how can we get to self-love if we don't really know what it feels like? Having been brought up in a situation where they were conditioned to be very self-critical and not have self-acceptance, and not really having that muscle memory of what that state is like to fully accept yourself. How can a person see past all of these negative self-identity issues and really experience the feeling of self-love?
This is where the power of paradox once again comes in. As we have said many times, you may feel powerless, but you're using your power to create that feeling of powerlessness. You may feel disconnected, but you're using your connection to all that is to create the experience of disconnection. So by understanding that you may be criticizing yourself, ask the question, why would I bother to criticize myself if I didn't love myself enough to do so? Because criticizing myself can be used to bring myself back into alignment if I find myself out of alignment. So use the idea of being critical, not in a negative way, but in a positive recognition that the only reason you would be critiquing yourself is because you love yourself enough to do so. And once you realize it from that perspective, you will actually paradoxically not be quite as critical in the negative way, but you will always check in with yourself to make sure that you are choosing the things that are truly vibrationally in alignment and compatible with who you prefer to be. It will change its quality. It will change its feeling. You will still check in, but it won't be a negative criticism. It will be an awareness of the idea of misalignment as opposed to alignment. You'll use it as an aligning tool and not a self-negative judgment on yourself for simply having gone out of alignment.
And what is human love? Is it connection to ourselves? Is there any relationship, such as romantic, family, or otherwise, that's there to help us connect to ourselves and be more of who we really are? And why would a person feel a deep desire to love and be loved? Is it a childhood need that hasn't been fulfilled? Or is it just about really being your full self?
There can be many circumstances in which you can relate the idea of feeling the need to be loved to a childhood situation, but the childhood situation may only have been pointing out the idea that every single being in creation has the urge to align and connect with all that is. If you want to recognize this as a great attraction, a great magnet, so to speak, that allows you to always yearn toward the idea of harmony and alignment with all that is, then you can translate that as a need to experience love of self and everything and all that is. Because love of all that is unconditionally includes you, because you are part of all that is. And love of yourself includes all that is, again, because all that is an expression of you, and you are an expression of it. Not meaning to be too esoteric about this idea. There can be many different expressions of the idea of love. But in your society, sometimes they will get a little bit twisted, and they will get a little bit put upon in the sense of assigning a meaning to why it has to be this way, imposing a structure on it that isn't necessarily as unconditional as you may think. It's all about relationships and realizing that all relationships, as we have said, are for the purpose of each person being attracted to other people to help them become more of themselves through reflection, through dialogue, through all sorts of ways, through behavior, and each person doing the same for the other, allowing them to become more of who they are through recognition and awareness and awakening. And that is the ultimate love, is the idea that relationships are about love, unconditional love, if you're functioning as a reflective mirror for others and yourself, letting them reflect to you what you need to become more of who you are.
Okay, thank you. I want to heal conflict and rekindle my zest for life. You say to follow your passion, but I also feel like my passion is irresponsible. Can you guide me to have clear passion and to help heal the conflict within and without?
Well, we may need to have a conversation with this person about exactly why they're defining the idea of their passion as something that's irresponsible. We would need to understand what it is they are recognizing or defining as irresponsible. But nevertheless, without going into the specifics for that particular individual, if you feel that your passion is irresponsible, then you don't have a clear definition of your passion, because your true passion cannot be irresponsible. If you are being irresponsible, then you're not functioning in your passion. That's really all we can say about it, is to watch your definitions, because by definition, acting on your true passion could never actually be irresponsible. Even if someone else may define it as such, if you know that it's not intentionally harming anyone or misleading anyone in any way, it's not being dishonest, it's a true representation of who and what you are at the moment, and you're able to communicate this clearly to other people and let them know who it is you truly are and what it is that is true for you as a passion, as a truth, as a core vibration for you, then you're not being irresponsible. If you hide these ideas from others, then yes, you may be being irresponsible even about your passion. But then again, you're not functioning truly in your passion if you're being irresponsible that way, by not having true open communication with people about what's going on for you and why you're choosing what it is you're choosing. Come down to the question of why you're choosing to do whatever it is you're choosing to do, and investigate with honesty within yourself about whether you're actually truly acting on a real passion, or whether it's simply your anxiety being disguised as such and then coming off as true irresponsibility.
And what about the situation where a person has a passion for a certain career and they've been following that passion and they've received lots of support from other people doing it, people have invested in them doing it, all of those things that create a bond around their passion, and then they don't feel the passion anymore and they want to change, but they feel guilty about abandoning, in a sense, all the people that have supported them in their passion.
All right, well, again, first and foremost, an honest investigation within yourself about whether it really is your passion, or whether your particular definitions are dampening it, or whether the passion is waning simply because you need to be doing something else that may not seem to be connected, but actually synchronistically will be connected and will appear to be connected once you take upon yourself the ability to do the other thing that you're able to act on, that is more passionate for you than the thing you were doing a moment ago. In other words, sometimes your passion can make it seem as if you're going in a direction that isn't connected to your original passion, but may in fact be. So you may have to look at it and include that path that may seem to be disconnected and define it as part of your path, part of the original passion, to see if it will bring you back to the original thing once you have gathered whatever experience you will gather by going off on what seems to be a tangent, but ultimately may prove to be otherwise, may prove to be part of the original passion. Remember, don't judge it by how it looks. Allow yourself to know that all passion is connected to every other passion, and it's the feeling of passion that guides you to let you know that all things are connected, even if on the surface of their appearance they don't seem to be. But always investigate your own definitions to make sure you're not the one dampening the passion when the passion could be there. So the guilt may simply be an aligning energy to let you know some self-investigation needs to be done here to determine for yourself whether you are dampening the excitement through your own negative and fear-based definitions, or whether you're actually going off on another path that is part of the overall path, but doesn't seem to be right now. But you have to trust that if it really has more passion than anything else, and you're not the one dampening the original passion, then it is included in the original passion, and there's something about acting on that particular path that will be important for the original passion as well, or will take you where you need to be. And of course, all of this comes, once again, with clear communication to others about what you're going through, because they may also have some advice for you about how you may handle the situation. Be inclusive in your communication if there are those that support you, and allow them to give you some reflections that may clear up the situation for you immediately, rather than figuring this whole thing out by yourself.
Would that also apply in situations where some people like to build companies, but then once they've finished building it, they're not interested in doing it anymore. They want to go find another company to build.
Yes,
Is that
perhaps, if again, that's truly representative of their passion waning naturally, because their passion may simply be to build companies that other people will run. That can be a definition of their passion, and creating new ones for other people to run may be the definition of their passion, sort of like planting seeds but allowing someone else to grow the flowers.
so? It just requires self-examination and looking for other ways to handle the situation so that everyone can be served.
Absolutely. That may be the definition of the passion. Not every project has to come to completion with the original person. So the idea is really be honest about what your passion is and let those that can help continue your passion in the way that serves them also serve you.
Yeah. And this person is asking about staying positive or at least going into a neutral state. Um, is it necessary to release your negative beliefs in order to stay in a neutral state? Or if your negative beliefs keep coming up and you're not able to move into a neutral state, is there a permission slip or a tip that you can use to get into a neutral state?
Well, again, remember what's being defined here is one of the tools of the formula, which is the reflective mirror. As we have said, you may think you've let go of all of your negative or fear-based beliefs, but if they do keep coming up, if new ones keep coming up, that's the reflective mirror showing you, revealing to you that you may have had a few negative beliefs hiding in your unconscious mind. So the very idea of having them come up is an exciting prospect because it allows you to let go of them by being made aware of them. If the same thing keeps coming up, all that means is you haven't really found the core negative belief that's generating that particular feeling. Because remember, feelings can't exist in a vacuum. So if you feel something, it means there's a belief or a definition behind it that you're buying into. This is a golden opportunity to understand yourself and clarify yourself and become more transparent to yourself, to know thyself more clearly. It's not about arriving someplace where this doesn't happen anymore, although you can. But if you're making that more important than investigating why that came up and what you're still holding on to, then you're missing the point. Whatever's going on in the moment, whatever you're facing in the moment, whatever comes up in the moment is the most important thing that can possibly be happening at that moment and is part of the process of why you chose to have this physical experience. So get into the idea of these things that come up, find out what you're holding on to that you don't prefer, and let it go by making it nonsensical to keep holding on to it, by making it make no sense to hold on to it. But don't necessarily negate the process. The process is clarifying you.
And how does one differentiate between anxiety and excitement?
I would think it would be self-evident if you're honest. The idea really is you can tell the difference. And this is why we have shared with you questions like, well, if I did move forward in this way, what am I afraid might happen? Because that will reveal any anxieties that might be within you that you were unaware of. And if the whole path is truly anxiety being disguised as passion because you're afraid to face something within yourself, asking that question will reveal that to you as well. So again, this is why we give you those questions. What would I have to believe is true about myself in this situation in order to feel the way I do, or in order to be confused about whether I'm feeling excitement or anxiety? You can put the question in that form as well. Or again, if I did move forward in what I believe to be my passion, what am I afraid might happen? And that will usually reveal, if you're willing to hear the answer with honesty, that will usually reveal whether what you're doing is actually part of your passion or not.
And what about in the situation where someone has a kind of ADD or some version of that, where bright, shiny object, oh, that's exciting. Oh, I'll run after that. Oh, what about that? And then can't really stay focused on, is that an indication that there's underlying anxiety that is driving that?
Yes, because the idea of ADD, in a sense, energetically, is an avoidance issue of facing something that would actually allow them to stabilize in the present. They're avoiding the present because they have a belief that something in the present is too painful for them to experience. So they're distracted by every shiny object that keeps them out of the present.
Um, does the Trinity, positive, neutral, and negative, come from our limitation of awareness? Or are there any beings in consciousness in the universe that see existence not in a positive, negative, or neutral perspective?
The positive, negative, neutral perspective is inherently built into all levels of all that is, except all that is can experience the totality without differentiation between those particular energetic aspects.